In part 1 of Colours of the Pilbara, we started our epic road trip through this astonishing region in Western Australia with a visit to reef-fringed Taverner Island, explored Onslow and surrounds, delved into the geology of the Chila Plains Station, and explored Wiano, Hammersley and Hancock Gorge in Karijini National Park. Karijini National Park is the premier park in the Pilbara and one of the most beautiful reserves of the country. So we are not done with the park yet and continue with a short walk to Oxer's Lookout. There, a platform perches high above where three canyons converge, revealing a dramatic landscape of epic proportions. This lookout is an excellent spot for all those who would like to get an idea of Karijini's canyons and gorges without doing the hard work. All you need to do is let your imagination wander while standing on this lofty perch high above the chasms. No visit to Karijini National Park would be complete without visiting Dales Gorge, the largest of all gorges in the park. This is the most visited attraction in the park, so solitude is not expected. An easy and safe track leads down to the top of Fortescue Falls. Below is a deep pool, a popular swimming hole on hot days. Before walking through the gorge itself, we go on a little side trip to Fern Pool. This delightful but culturally sensitive spot invites for a swim or just contemplation. Then it is back to Fortescue Falls and down to the valley floor. A walking track leads away from the falls and follows the creek downstream through Dales Gorge towards Circular Pool. This is where we leave the crowd behind. Deep red walls tower above us. The creek forms picturesque cascades over flat rocks. Large trees give shade. The sound of human voices is replaced by bird song and the sound of rushing water. This is a peaceful oasis. Unfortunately, the last section of the track to Circular Pool is closed due to a landslide. So we begin our exit out of the Dales Gorge earlier than anticipated. The steep track eventually leads up to the gorge rim walk near the Three Ways Lookout. Now it is time to leave Karijini National Park and head for the town of Newman. Talking about a change of scenery. The unsealed roads stay behind, are replaced by bitumen, and we are confronted with another reality that also defines the Pilbara. This stretch of the Great Northern Highway is dominated almost exclusively by very large trucks. This is Newman on a blustery late afternoon. And Newman is all about mining. To get an idea of the scale of the mining operations here, we join a mining tour. The Pilbara is the state's mining powerhouse. On top of the list is iron ore. and the town of Newman is at the centre of one of the largest iron ore mining projects in Australia. BHP, the second biggest mining company in the world, runs two operations around Newman. Newman East and Newman West, also known as Mount Wellback. Their Newman operations account for about 78 million tonnes in total iron ore production. At 1.5 km wide and 5 km long, Mount Wellback is the single biggest open pit in the world. The ore mined here is the blue-grey coloured Brockman hematite. It contains 68.8% iron and is one of the highest grades in the world. But BHP also mines the less pure ochre-coloured limonite. It contains 61% iron. With Newman, we have reached the eastern Pilbara, and on our way to Marble Bar, we are now venturing into the lesser known part of this region. Our first stop is just 12 kilometers east of Newman. This is the access track to Ophthalmia Dam. The dam is a spectacular oasis formed when a branch of the Fortescue River was dammed in 1981 to recharge the underlying aquifer that provides Newman's water supply. To get to our next destination, we are now following the train track that connects the mines with Port Hedland. Encountering one of the frequent ore trains is a spectacle in itself. These trains, nearly 3 kilometers long, are absolutely massive, like everything that has to do with the industrial side of the Pilbara. Then a narrow sandy track leads us away from the train line. We are heading towards Punda Rock Art site, 65 kilometers from Newman. Punda consists of numerous petroglyphs packed into the darker oxidized outer layer of large boulders. It is a beautiful, remote and unspoiled site that is accessible without restrictions. It is therefore of vital importance that everyone visiting this sacred site show respect and protect it. The Pilbara region of Western Australia is among the oldest places on Earth, so I have to talk geology for a while. There are some obscure sites along the way to Marble Bar, like the Conglomerate Canyon near Ngurrangga. Their rocks polished by glaciers, with their shiny surfaces visible from a distance. Geological panoramas of mesas accompany the drive towards Marble Bar. Just don't get too distracted, as road trains also frequent this unsealed road. Then there are canyons like the Dolina Gorge on the De Grey River, carved out of rock by uncountable floods over the millennia. This gorge offers fabulous campsites along the large waterhole. Then dirt turns to bitumen, and an area with large granite boulders left and right of the road announces that Marble Bar is not too far away. This town is at the centre of an exciting geological potpourri with some major attractions, and will be our base for the next few days. An exciting but long day trip from Marble Bar is to Carawine Gorge. With its massive pool, this stunning location is slowly gaining popularity under those who seek peaceful and remote bush camps. Carved by the Oakover River during the occasional cyclonic floods, the surrounds of the gorge offer many geological sites to explore. Let's have a brief break from geology. Corunna Downs, 39 kilometers south of Marble Bar, is the location of a historic and in its time very secret World War II airfield. It operated from 1943 to 1945, and at its peak about 300 personnel were stationed here. The two crossing runways were 1,500 and 2,000 meters long. Over 200 bomber sorties were flown out of Corunna Downs during the years of operation. Another side trip from Marble Bar is to the dramatic Ngurrangga Gorge, 56 kilometers southwest from town. Before we explore the gorge, a daily ritual has to be observed. Espresso outdoor style. Only a few minutes away from our improvised coffee shop, deep red rock walls hem in large pools of water. The gorge invites to just sit, listen and contemplate, and in the late afternoon, when the colours intensify and the rocky hills reflect into the water, this becomes a place of tranquility. One excursion from Marble Bar that is a must for anyone interested in geology is of course the famous Marble Bar itself. We arrive in the morning just as the low sun was touching the surrounding peaks. From the air, the Marble Bar, composed not from marble but jasper, is clearly visible, connecting two peaks across the bed of the Kungan River. A closer inspection of the bar reveals the strikingly colourful jasper deposits. Further downstream from the bar is Chinaman's pool. For landscape photographers, early morning is the time to visit. On the way to Port Hedland, geology nerds get further kicks. A line of strange hills, composed of rust-coloured boulders, catch the eye. This is a dolerite dike. Dolerite is an intrusive igneous rock that solidified under the surface. Erosion later exposes these deposits. Closer to town, the Cretaceous mesas distract and invite closer inspection. These traumatic hills and rock formations rise abruptly out of the plains and are composed of between 146 and 66 million year old sandstone. The sandstone has been deposited in a river delta at the edge of a large freshwater lake. These striking geological formations show off their beauty, especially at sunset. Just 40 kilometers further on is Port Hedland, the industrial hub of the Pilbara coast. In the center is the enormous harbour where the mined iron ore is loaded onto massive ships. To get an idea of the scale of this harbour and the size of the ore ships, we join a harbour cruise. The port is named after Captain Peter Hedland. He anchored his ship here in 1863 while looking to offload cattle for a nearby station. The Port Hedland harbour was originally known as Mangrove Harbour. Construction of the first Port Hedland jetty began in 1896 to service the needs of the pastoral industry. Discovery of gold in Marble Bar drove the extension of the jetty in 1908. A railway connecting Marble Bar and Port Hedland was completed in 1911. It was, however, the huge iron ore mines in the interior of the Pilbara that led the port to becoming the world's largest bulk export port. Exports include iron ore, of course, but also lithium and salt. One of the largest Pilbara salt mines is just outside of Port Hedland. At Rio Tinto's Dampier salt operation, seawater from the Indian Ocean evaporates to become hypersaline. It then gets poured into salt crystallizer ponds where it grows the salt. Now it is time to leave the industrial city of Port Hedland and head down the coast. We base ourselves at the Discovery Park at Point Samson, 220 road kilometres west of Port Hedland. Not far from here is the historic settlement of Cossack. Originally called Tianjin after the bark that landed pastoralist Walter Padbury at the mouth of the Harding River in 1863. The beautifully restored bluestone buildings that can be seen today give an idea of how important this remote town once was. Cossack was the original port of pearls, an early hub for gold prospectors in the region, and a port for pastoralists in the Pilbara. Cossack sits at the mouth of the Harding River, an unspoiled waterway that creates a wonderful amphibian landscape of river channels, islands and mangrove forests. A short drive from Cossack is Reeder Head Lookout. The rocky knoll is a place of pilgrimage for all those who love sunsets. This is the view from Radio Hill Lookout not far from Karratha. And today we look at this ancient land from an indigenous perspective. We have joined indigenous tour guide and traditional owner Clinton Walker on a four-wheel drive tag-along day tour out of Karratha. After this first orientation from Radio Hill, we follow the lead vehicle out into the hills and plains. The first destination is a series of dark hills composed of rust-coloured boulders. A river has cut a gap into that strange geological site, creating a peaceful and lush oasis with a large pool surrounded by gum trees. What makes this enchanted spot so special, however, is rock art. Packed into the dark outer patinae of the rocks are numerous petroglyphs. Now penetrating deeper into traditional land, Clinton educates participants in the ways of his culture and history. It is a deep immersion into Pilbara Aboriginal culture and country. It is also a chance to experience the beauty of the Pilbara off the beaten track. Reaching one of the many rivers in the area, it is now time for a very special ritual. Welcome to country.
This water, it belongs to the serpent, the warlock. So you drive around, you see the warlock way, named after the rainbow serpent. And that warlock is the boss of all the water places. So when you go to his water, you can't just do anything you want. You got to ask him for permission. So when we go to a water place, we do a welcome, we sing out, we call out to the serpent so that we can be in this place in a safe way.
Then it is time to move on. Our last destination of the day lies within Millstream Chichester National Park, Horseshoe Gorge. During the walk, Clinton is always keen to show little points of interest related to his people and culture, features that most likely would be missed by casual visitors without his guidance.
There's a bird track Might be a seagull or something when they walk in the mud, leave their footprints.
This afternoon walk is also an opportunity to simply enjoy the beauty and serenity of this beautiful gorge. The road trip is now coming to an end, and like at the beginning, we finish on a boat. We are heading out with local tour guide and skipper Angela to explore the islands of the Dampier Archipelago. With 42 islands and isles, the archipelago is a piece of untamed wilderness along the Pilbara coast. It was formed 7,000 years ago when rising sea levels flooded what were once coastal plains. One of the islands is Rosemary Island, with its magnificent sand spit. We are the only visitors there. After an interlude snorkeling in Whalers Bay on the northeastern side of Rosemary Island, we now follow the western coastline of West Louis Island. Our destination is narrow Pirates Cove on the southwestern tip of East Louis Island. There we spent some time on the island. On the way back, the Pilbara farewells us with a colourful sunset.